Muscatine. Hope your Wednesday's starting off well. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. We did. Got to blow up a bunch of stuff. And for those of you that know me, you know that's a pretty normal thing on the 4th of July. So the chamber put on a tremendous day yesterday. I wasn't able to get to all of it, but what I got to was awesome. The parade went well, like everything from what I've heard. So almost fireworks fest, whole 9 yards, the symphony, everybody. So great job, Muscatine. Keep it going. And we'll do it again next year, 364-ish days from now. One quick programming update. We do have Muskie softball tonight. It's a rescheduled game against, I believe it's North Scott that rained out a week or so ago. So we'll have that live at 5 tonight. It'll be a doubleheader. And that will be the last game that we broadcast from the high school softball field down at Kent Stein. Next year, we'll have a brand new field out behind MHS, behind the football field. So enjoy it. Come down, watch the girls. They will be hosting regionals, so there'll still be a couple more chances for you to come down and see them in person. But that's it for us. So I had a couple of big things, like the end of June, the beginning of July in Muscatine is just like jam-packed. And you guys added another one this year. So if you guys could, I know you guys were here couple of weeks, well, geez, more than a couple weeks ago, but you were here talking about what you were going to do, and now you get to tell us about what happened. So if you guys could just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll kind of jump into what you guys pulled off. It was about 2 weeks ago now, right? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. So grab the...
Well, my name is Pastor Aleese Kenitzer, and I am pastor at Shepherd of the Cross Lutheran Church. And Pastor Cindy approached me, around Christmas about an idea to put together a day camp, Christian day camp, for kids in the Muscatine community. And through a whole bunch of partnerships with other congregations in the area and also different community partners, we were able to pull off a week-long day camp for kids grades K through 6. And Holden was one of those kids, so I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name's Holden.
What grade are you in, Holden?
I'm in 4th grade, about to go in 5th.
Awesome.
Nice.
So you got to go?
Yeah, I got to go.
And do you want to introduce yourself real quick? So everybody knows who the anchor in the middle is here for us.
Hello, I'm Cindy Axtell, and I'm the pastor at Musterville United Methodist and Wilton Peace Church.
Awesome. Okay. So the Christian Day Camp was out at Salisbury, correct?
Yep.
You guys had a huge schedule of events. You had partners all the way across the board. I mean, it was from Kent, County Conservation. I mean, and it was just a monster. So what all do you remember, Holden, from the week? What were the things that stick out for you?
Well, the first day we got to see some animals and like one of those things that goes on wheels. I forgot what they're called.
Was that?
They're all like the different animals on the trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yes.
So did you get to see Mr. Baki?
Yeah.
Yeah? One of his last official shows, I guess? Engagements? I don't know what he calls them. But we got to talk with him the other day. So what did a day look like for you? When you got there, like what started off your day and how did it go from there?
Well, the first day you had to like sign in for one entry and go to the next one to drop your kid off. And my mom, she forgot that. She skipped the first part. So we had to drive all the way back and redo it. And she had to go clean, so she was late to that.
And folks, the great part of this is Mom is literally sitting right there.
Sorry, Mom.
So not only did he throw her under the bus right in front of her, but on TV. That's brave. You're going to have a long day, I have a feeling. Okay, so after you got all registered and got in, what did you guys get to do after that? Do you remember?
We got our bikes out, and we rode to the bike parking and waited till it started. And Pastor Aleese sung a few of her famous songs.
You have famous
I'm
songs?
glad they're famous.
Yeah, they are
That says
famous.
something that you said that they're famous.
Yeah,
That's
they're
pretty
very
cool.
famous.
Okay.
So is that something we should like make her do?
Yeah, do it.
Should we do the boom chicka boom song?
Yeah.
Will you echo me?
Sure.
All right. I said a boom chicka boom.
I said a boom, chicka boom.
I said a boom chicka boom.
I said a boom, chicka boom.
I said a boom chicka rocka chicka boom.
I said a boom, chicka rocka, chicka boom.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No more times.
No more times.
We would normally do them many different times. Janitor style,
Underwater
motorcycle style.
Girl style.
Oh, the boys loved that. So they were silly songs, right? They were silly songs, but then we also used those as entry songs
We did.
in order to sing some more like worship kind of songs.
Yeah, we did.
So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you get to do, I remember you guys talking about the luminescent animal tracking. Like, did you get
Oh,
to see,
yeah.
like, what was that like?
On the overnight trip, that's when it happened. And it was like dark out, and there was poison ivy. My legs didn't really like it, so. But
Wait, did you touch it?
well, it was
Le-
pitch dark out, so.
Leaves of three,
I
don't touch thee. Like,
Can I interject just a second?
Yeah.
The thing is Mr. Baki wanted us to do it in complete darkness. I mean, we didn't use our flashlights at all, so we were just using the little bit of the light of the moon to walk through the woods, and it's
All
actually
right.
very possible. But I was a little nervous about the poison ivy too, but I didn't get it.
all right, well, we'll let you off the hook then. Now, this is also from the guy who may have got it in his own backyard, so don't feel bad. So what all happened? So like they planted some food out there,
Yeah.
like before you guys got there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then they put like this luminescent dust sort of stuff. And what did it do?
Well, it kind of like was, if you like touch something, if the animals touch something, it was like little dust. So whenever they went, it like showed a little orange trail of like dust.
Was it really surprising, like where all they went?
Yeah, it was on trees. Yeah.
Could you tell, like, with some help, like maybe what kind of animal it was, or
Yeah.
do you remember what they said had gone through there? Like what some of the animals were?
Squirrels. I'm pretty sure a few foxes or coyotes, maybe.
I think we saw some foxes, some coons, of course.
Right.
Because you have coons.
Everybody has coons.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's an Iowa thing. So what else like sticks out in your mind that was super fun?
We did a spear throw thing. And it was like Native American games.
Oh,
That
right.
was-
You guys were talking about that.
Yeah, it was really fun.
The adult, yeah.
Yeah. So we learned to like throw a spear with like a stick thing that had a little hook connected to it. So you connected like the back of a spear to that, and you basically just did that, and the spear went over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you like spearfish? Were you like in the water,
No.
like trying to?
No.
Maybe that's next year.
Imaginary bison. Yeah.
At least you imagined a big target.
Yeah.
That's so. At least for you, what were the things that like stood out for you that you enjoyed the most, or?
Yeah, there were so many different things that stood out the most. And I think one of the things that I loved doing, we had 2 days where we had inflatables down there. Pastor Cindy, along with some other help, were able to fund that for us. And so we had one that was just a dry, normal bounce house, and then another one that was a water slide. And that was a ton of fun because having kids come up and say, Pastor Aleese, go down the water slide. And I'm pretty sure about 75% of them thought I would never go down the water slide with them. And I'm like, come on, guys, don't you know me? And so we got to go down the water slide numerous times, lots of squeals, lots of laughter. And I mentioned that because it was truly an event that adults and kids were participating together in. And I saw a lot of bonds being created between adults and kids and kids and kids and adults and adults. And so it was a joy to be able to participate in that, and also a joy to be able to witness that, just like stand back and see all of this taking place, because days, like, they were just volunteers doing what they needed to do. And Pastor Cindy and I were just basically making sure that people knew what they were doing. And that was a huge blessing.
Yeah, that's, when you do events like that, that's all you can hope for, is just like that everybody knows what to do. And if they don't, you got people that you trust to just handle it. And I'm, based on the list of who I saw you guys were going to have there, I don't think that was going to be a problem at all. And so, because they never go 100% smoothly, right? Like, there's always something, and you just got to think on the fly. Like, did you notice anything went wrong? You probably didn't even notice, did you? No. Cindy, for you, what do you think?
Well, I kind of echo a lot of what Aleese said, but there were some things that I really touched my heart, I guess, when I saw all the different churches who volunteered to bring the meals. I mean, it was such a community effort, and it isn't a cheap thing, really, to feed 120, 130 people,
No,
to
it's
be
not.
honest. But I'll tell you, those church people came. They were laughing. They were having fun. They fed us this delicious food every meal, and I'm getting goosebumps again. It was just so awesome to see all the community come together, and that for me has been sort of a hidden gem. I mean, as much as fun as the camp was, and it was just very, very good. It was just really nice to have worked with so many different churches. I've met so many people I didn't know, and so I really feel like we have joined arms, and it does take a village, and I think we proved that. So,
Well, and I think, the one thing I know from my own experience is that I haven't met a church group yet that doesn't do food well, right? Like, because I don't know why, but like, it must be like a prereq, that I don't know. But so to get you guys all together, I can only imagine what that entailed. And again, to your point, seeing everybody coming together for one cause that makes sense for everybody, right? Like, and that's, we've seen the nonprofits in Muscatine do that. The churches are doing it. And that's what makes Muscatine great is, for many years and in many, and I would say even most communities, there's a lot of silos, right? There's, and so seeing you guys say, you know what, we don't care about silos, we're just going to do stuff, it makes Muscatine a better place.
Chris, and I've heard even after camp too, from congregations and from other leaders saying like, well, we did this for a week, now why can't we do X? And why can't we do Y? And like, yes, that's leading us to next year for Christian Day Camp, but it's also leading to things like during the school year. I mean, First Baptist is talking to Shepherd of the Cross, and Shepherd of the Cross is talking to Peace United Methodist Church, that like there just hasn't been open line of communications, really for no good reason.
Right.
It just, there wasn't the opportunity. But
Yeah.
now there's the opportunity,
Well,
now there's the connection.
And that's one of those things that I think, this is how it's been in Muscatine a lot. I feel like from just the things I see is nobody dislikes each other.
Right.
There was just never a reason to, like everybody's busy doing their thing. And so it wasn't like, oh, you know what, we don't like those people or they're horrible. Not that at all, right? Like, but when you can find those causes that everybody goes, yeah, I can get on board for that. And they're not that hard to come up with, because I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you're on the far left, the far right, whatever. There's still way more that we have in common than we have in difference, right? And we all want the same thing for the Muscatine community. We all want the same thing for the kids. And the little differences of how we get there really don't matter at the end of the day, when you can pull off something like this especially. So I think you hinted at it. Is next year going to be a thing?
when Aleese said that, well, during the camp, I mean, we did not really know where it was going to go. I mean, we're just going to, get through this week, pretty much.
Yep.
But our group leaders kept coming up and saying, well, next year when we do this, and we're like, what did you say? So yeah, okay, we're in, if you're with us,
like,
we're in.
Everybody kind of makes that decision for you, don't they? Yeah. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Yeah, we're doing it. So that's awesome. I mean, because then you've got help. And that's the biggest thing in stuff like this is if the people that are willing to help are that excited about coming back to do it next year, I'm going to guess, Holden, you going to go back next year?
Probably. If I have enough time for it, yeah.
Oh, if your social calendar isn't too full?
Yeah.
So does mom run your social calendar? You
Kinda.
You may want to just have her put it on now and maybe
Okay,
make a note
thanks,
about
Mom.
the registration process for. So we do have some information. Margaret's got the info on next year already. So we'll make sure that gets out on the calendar and everything else. And we'll, when it's time, we'll start promoting it again next year and see if we can, how many did you have actually, finally? Because I know you were like full pretty early, right?
Yeah, we capped at 80 last time we chatted with you, and we reached that 80. The only reason we were a little shy is we had a couple things happen. I mean, it always happens, right? So we were right at 78. But it was a good number. It was a manageable number with that many kids, and it also allowed for more one-on-one conversation with the kids. If we would have had too many more, it would have been a little bit challenging. So,
Awesome.
yeah. If I may just bop in just real briefly, you were
Yep.
mentioning about next year, and I know
Go for it.
Margaret will be sharing some information. We're excited to be expanding our options as well into the coming year for some upper grades as well. So we're going to be continuing with the K through 6 program
Oh, gotcha.
for kids like Holden. But we recognize that our middle schoolers don't always have stuff to do during the days.
Yes.
And so we're mindful that it's just like, what can we be doing for those middle schoolers? And so it'll be a shorter time commitment for the middle schoolers, but later in June for 7th and 8th graders here in Muscatine, we'll have something for them as well.
That'll be really nice because a lot of times middle schoolers do kind of fall in between that K5, K6 thing and the high school. And honestly, they're probably the age bracket that needs that interaction and engagement the most. Like we see it at the holiday stroll and like we were all that age. Like it's a tough age, right? Like you got a whole bunch of things going on in your body. It's a tough time. Nobody is like a great 7th grader. You know what I mean? Like everybody has their moments, right? And so to be able to have something for them in a positive engagement function will be tremendous. So I think we covered it all. Holden, anything special? Anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
Not really?
Yeah.
Holden, I think, weren't you a little not sure about riding the bike in the beginning, but your parents brought you out to ride around on the trails there, so to speak, or the roads, and so he got to feeling really much more comfortable and did a great job, and all of our kids did a way better job than we even thought it could go. So
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for putting it on. Thank you for going. Hope you enjoyed it, which I think you did. And we'll be thinking about it and figuring out what we can do to help for next year.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, we'll be right back with Ashley Wiebe from the MHS Ag department because it's a busy time of year for them. So we'll see you in just a minute.
Have you heard the littlest things can make the biggest difference? Every day, bigs and littles are connecting in our community. Their time together can look a little different, but the goals and outcomes are the same. Littles are building confidence, forming better relationships, a sense of belonging, and achieving big goals. But there are more kids just like me who are still waiting. Will you join us in making more matches possible? Support big brothers, big sisters.
We are looking for a zero-turn lawnmower.
At Hustler Turf, quality matters.
Can I test drive that one?
In the store?
Even in the buying experience. We know you want to buy from someone who knows what they're talking
We're
about.
looking for a zero-turn mower.
Like
Great.
this guy.
First thing you need to know is what's the size of your property? Are there any obstacles?
Head to your local Hustler dealer and talk to a lawnmower expert.
Stop in to Muscatine Lawn and Power at 2020 Stewart Road to see Hustler quality for yourself.
We just don't work out in a single plane of motion.
And welcome back. We are here with Ashley Wiebe, who is, So I just always hear she's the awesome ag teacher.
One of the awesome ag teachers.
Well, yes.
There are
No,
several
well,
of us.
There are, yes. Okay. True. Wordsmithing, I need to be better at. Yes. Awesome and you are always almost always in a sentence together. So I know we swung out, was that, what, about a year ago now? For you won maybe some little award.
Yeah. You guys kind of surprised me out there at the middle school. I was a finalist for the Golden Owl Award, which is a fairly big honor in the state of Iowa. So that was fun.
Yeah. So let's kind of start off. Well, first let's have you officially introduce yourself and what you do, but then let's kind of talk about a little bit of the overview of what the ag world looks like for kids in Muscatine, because we've got, FFA, we've got the school programs, there's 4-H. So maybe if we could just kind of first step back and take like a big look at everything, and then we'll dive into what's coming up.
All right. Well, my name is Ashley Wiebe. I'm employed here at the school district. I'm officially one of the ag teachers at the middle school. We have just officially hired a second one. So Miss Allie Youngbauer will be joining me down at the middle school level. And then up at the high school, we have Dave Tomatich, Sam Paul, and then Alexa Koobs is also up there. So we've got a really good team that kind of works together. So I've been teaching here for, I believe I just finished my 10th or 11th year. So I've been around just a little while.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's take a half step back here. So a lot of people are familiar with like 4-H and somewhat familiar with FFA.
Yep.
How do all of these programs like intertwine with like what the school does? Because there's a lot of crossover in a lot of really good ways.
There is, and some of these programs really kind of attempt to do the same thing. I guess backing up, so FFA is basically connected through the schools and the fact that it's built into the curriculum. So we look at agriculture within the school district. We kind of call it the 3-circle model. So we have agriculture in the classroom, the FFA, and then we have a program that's called SAE, which is Supervised Agricultural Experience. And so FFA technically is intercurricular, so it's built in with everything. In some ways, we look at FFA a little bit like a sport, because FFA is giving those kids a chance to practice and take what they've learned in the classroom and be able to compete and earn awards and try to just see how they stack up not only in our district, but also across the state and sometimes even across the nation, depending on how far up the chain we can move.
Yeah, and that's the amount of kids that are in FFA never ceases to amaze me. So I got the privilege of coming in and helping judge the website building.
Yeah.
So like this is what's really cool about FFA. So you normally think, or at least I would, okay, animals, whatever, but like they have like sales
Absolutely.
competitions
Yes.
to help get them comfortable presenting and convincing and swaying people and persuading them. I got to judge websites built by the chapters, and I'll tell you, there were a couple of them who looked like something that a entry-level professional would do.
Absolutely.
Right? Like they were very impressive.
Yes.
And especially for like something a high schooler does in their quote-unquote free time, right? Like their practice time, right? So it's really fun to watch all of that. And then, so when we did this, like the high school was full because it was regionals, am I right?
So we actually hosted the district contest this year. Yep.
Yeah. So, but the high school was like full of kids from everywhere.
that would have been kids from just southeast Iowa. So Iowa FFA is broken into 6 different districts. We are the southeast district. And so this year we had the honor, privilege, curse, whatever you want to call it, to host districts. So that rotates every year based on who the district advisor is. So each year there is one teacher from that section that acts as the kind of contact go-to person. And they help host districts within either at their school, or if their school isn't big enough, then they reach out to a neighboring school and kind of work together. So I actually am this year's outgoing district advisor. Mr. Adam Cruz down at L&M is the incoming district advisor for this next year. So next year, L&M will actually be hosting districts down there. And so we got to host that, and it is a lot of work, but it is really neat for the community and for all of our judges that we ask to come in to be able to see the skills that these kids have, and just the different chances that they have to be able to compete and get involved. And that's one of the really cool things about agriculture is it's so broad. And that's what our goal at the middle school level is to get these kids to understand, hey, I might not necessarily be a huge animal person, but there's still a place for me in agriculture if I'm super good at math. Okay, we need people who are calculating feed nutrition rations. We need people who are engineers who are going to be building machinery, building and designing equipment. We need people who are in sales and marketing. Maybe you're a super good people person and that's a great fit for you. So agriculture is super broad, and our goal is to use those things to help the kids build the skills that they'll need to be successful, college, career, whatever it may be. And obviously it'd be cool if they went into agriculture someday, but it really doesn't matter what you end up going into. FFA and agriculture can help you build those skills to be successful. And everybody always hears about farm kid work ethic. Well, there's really not that many farm kids anymore, which is kind of unfortunate and kind of scary, but kids have to get skills somewhere.
Right.
And sports are obviously a great way you can build in teamwork and some of those things, but if you're not always a super athletic kid, or like me, you love sports, but you know, you have other passions and things too, FFA and some of these 4-H give kids a great chance to start building some of those other skills.
Well, and like one other kind of that I see is, I think, so I know the high school FFA group works with Margaret, and they write stories about what's going on. I don't know, is it the recorder? I think it's like the recorder or somebody that would normally be writing this stuff anyway, writes an article for the paper.
Yes.
We publish it, so to give them, like, they get to work with Margaret on like the editing process and like what it takes to actually put out a finished piece and all that. And that's, I love the fact that we can do that because it fits right in with what you guys are doing anyway.
Absolutely.
It's no extra load for anybody, but the kids get an experience that they wouldn't be able to get any other way.
It's just
So-
practical, real world experience. Giving the kids, and this is something I think maybe sometimes society as a whole doesn't always do a good job with, is kids need responsibility.
Yeah.
Kids need things to do to make them feel important. They don't need minuscule little jobs that is, you know, just something to do. They need something that's going to make them feel valuable and make them feel important. And I think by giving them skills and giving them chances to compete, and even giving them chances to do something that, okay, this is going to be in the paper, the community is going to see this,
Yeah.
it gives them feedback on, you know, this is actually something important and this is something that is a valuable skill to have in the future.
Well, and it provides like real world consequences as well.
Exactly.
Because I think sometimes the kids like, oh, it's an assignment. There's no, if I don't do it well, I might get a bad grade. But it's not like there's any, whereas like if in the paper or at a competition, what you do is public, right? And so
Absolutely.
like you've got to put your best foot forward, or you might get like, hey, what were you doing? Or were you asleep at the wheel, sort of a thing.
Right. Well, even like at the Ag Center, you know, if you're running machinery and you don't do things well, you run the risk of breaking machines or getting hurt, you know. Same thing, you're working with animals, you know,
Right.
you don't show up to do chores, your animals don't eat. Like there's dire consequences that come from not doing your things well. And so these kids really have to step up and build responsibility, or they got to face the consequences. And 9 times out of 10, the kids are really going to step it up.
Yeah, they do. And the one other thing that I noticed is the leadership that develops amongst the kids.
Absolutely.
Is, you know, you guys, and this is probably way oversimplifying it, but you guys don't always do all of the accountability yourselves as instructors, teachers, leaders. There's usually kids in the group that I've seen that kind of take that leadership role and help hold everybody else accountable.
Right.
And then that way it's not, I mean, it's positive peer pressure.
Right.
You know, everybody thinks of peer pressure as a negative, but peer pressure is just a thing. It can be either positive or negative.
Exactly.
Right? And you guys do a great job of setting up an environment where they can get leadership experience, they can use positive peer pressure to get things done, get everybody to grow, get things done, and it all sort of comes together. And, you know, I think about the kids down in Wapello, like they put on a whole rodeo themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's adults around helping, but I mean, like they run the whole thing.
Right.
And so that's just another example of like what the overall structure is.
Right. Well, theoretically, FFA is a student-run organization. Like
Right.
we tell the kids all the time, this is not our program. This is your program. Like any one of us could come and go and leave tomorrow. Hopefully, that's not the case. But you know, when we go, this is still something that's going to be in the community, and it's up to the kids and it's up to the community really to keep it going. And to, you know, once the kids have had a little taste of success and see what they're actually capable of, they want to keep that going and they want to keep building, and they don't want some little punk freshman or 8th grader to come in and mess up what they've already built. So they want to make sure that the legacy kind of lives on.
Well, and I think, as you mentioned, like community sport, I know of like 2 off the top of my head, like Bear and Kent, that do
Absolutely.
a tremendous amount, like Chris Bohr from Bear.
Chris is fantastic, yes.
Oh my goodness, you cannot say enough great things about that woman. But I mean, there's like Ag Safety Day, there's like
STEM Day.
Day.
They partner with us on so many different things. It's crazy.
Yeah, like it's amazing. And of course, Kent just supports everything across that. Like half the, I don't know about half, but a lot of the buildings out at the fairgrounds, they've helped support.
They've put money into to help fix up.
It's great. And I know there's others, and if I know I've missed some, I apologize.
Oh, there's tons of, there's huge shout out to everybody in the community who's either helped us work with a contest team or come in and listen to kids preparing for things or stop by with support, or we sure appreciate it. And this FFA chapter and the Ag department would not be what it is today without everyone and their support. So thank you very much.
So what does FFA look like as far as like total number of kids in it, like at the high school, middle school level?
Yeah, so middle school level, we're really kind of in a building phase right now. When we were split between West and Central, it made it really hard because I was slingshotted back and forth between the buildings, and you kind of get going one semester and then now we go to the next building, and it's hard to build that continuity with the kids when you don't see them every single day. So now that we're kind of in one building, things have really kind of exploded. And so we're have very high hopes for next year as we bring Allie in and start to get her involved. So we've got, we're running a little over 300 kids through class. And then we had probably this year about 30 kids that were actually really active in things at the middle school level, which is bigger than it has been. And I'm really hoping that number is going to, hopefully within the next few years, probably even double. Just because I'll have more time and, bringing in a second person, we can reach just that many more kids. Because there's tons and tons and tons of contests and activities. We just sometimes run out of time with all the things there is to do. Right. And it really just depends on the kids' interest level and what they want to do too. And then high school wise, again, we're running about probably 350 kids through FFA. And quite a few of them are very, very active in contests and events and things. In fact, we've already had a really busy summer with just contests and activities as well.
Yeah, well, and so speaking of summer contest activities, one of the things, Kelsey was here last week, or what was it, Monday? Was it just Monday? I think it was just Monday. She was here talking about the fair and everything else coming up. And we're creating some stuff for them, to make like some interactive mapping so people can see how to get everywhere and stuff. And, obviously a bunch of your kids are going to be out there.
Yes.
So, we talk about the fair, and there's kind of like I always think of like 2 sides of the fair. There's like the ag competition side, and then there's the carnival event
the
side.
fun stuff, yeah.
Well,
they're both fun to me, but yeah.
Right, but, I even talk about like last year taking my son out who's 11. Ag's not really his thing on spec. He's a little basketball boy, whatever, right? But he enjoys it for that, like he gets exposure to it. He's probably not going to go out and be like, hey, I want to go join FFA.
Right.
But he learns about it. He gets exposed to it. He sees some of the kids that he knows, like our neighbor Mallory's, showing a pig this year, I think. And, so like that stuff's cool. So you can help kind of bridge stuff at, they're all there having cotton candy and whatever, but they're all also building friendships and everything else.
Right, and that's where kind of our positive advocacy things come in, and really it puts a lot more weight on these kids when they take their projects out in public. Like, you can work with it all year long, in the barn, and nobody's probably going to know, but really their time to shine then is when they get to the fair, and you can really see then when you get to fair who's actually put in the work throughout the year. And who's spent the time with their livestock and their projects, and who's really done all the behind the scenes work, because that's really when it shows and really when it pays off is when you get to the fair.
Yeah, and the one like non-animal thing that jumped out at me is something that was like, oh, wouldn't have thought of that, but it's like the photography.
Photography is super popular.
It is like I wouldn't have necessarily thought of that, but I mean, I don't remember which building it is, but. Well, I think it's in the 4-H building.
It's the 4-H building, yep. Just kind of up on the other side of the fairgrounds from the barns.
Yep. Like literally, I don't know how many pictures there were in there, and art projects that are ag related in some ways. Not 100%, I don't think, but mostly. And you know, you just think like, wow, they know how to use a camera. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
They can construct a photograph. They can mess with focal points, and they can do all these things that, you know, me as someone who, you know, plays with cameras all day, like, oh, they
have
could
some
come,
skills,
they
yeah.
could come in and do this. Like just a little bit of like, okay, here's what we're looking for. They could probably hit most of it.
And then beyond that, beyond just the photo itself, they have to actually sit down with a judge and explain to them, hey, this is what I did, this is why I did it, this is what I learned, and kind of walk them through the steps. And not only do they have to be able to produce the product, they actually have to be able to talk about it as well.
Right.
Which is one of those, that's honestly, I think one of the biggest things that 4-H and FFA gives kids is just communication skills. Because there's not really a lot of other places that give youth a chance to really express themselves in that way. And honestly, most kids are terrified to speak in front of people and really use that public speaking voice until they have some practice. I was definitely one of those kids, and the reason I speak probably as well as I do, and I'm not afraid to speak on things, is because I went through 4-H and FFA and had all those experiences. And honestly, that's why I became a teacher, is to be able to give those experiences to other kids.
Well, and so to that point, you know, thinking back to watching the presentations on the websites, right? You could tell some of them were more comfortable, some of them were a little less comfortable, but they all got through it. They all get, and you know, it's a nice, safe environment for them to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Right? And so we did, and you know, since I was really the only one in that judging group that like technically builds websites, like the others were like looking at overall design and like function, but I was like, okay, why did you do that? And like, they were able to answer some pretty tough questions. Now, they may have not had a resource, you know, but I mean, they were able to communicate their thought processes. They were able to go, oh, you know what, we could have done that. That would work. And I will be willing to bet that if I get to do it again next year, I'll bet I see some of those changes. I mean, I could probably go look now and they're probably already there.
I'm sure they are, yeah.
Because they take, overall, they take criticism really well. And what I mean by that is not like criticism, but like critique, I guess, is maybe even a better word.
They know how to, they know that people, when they're telling them, hey, you could change this, you could change that, they're trying to help them to grow.
Right.
And I think that's, I mean, in order to get really good at some of these contests and activities, you have to be able to take that.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, you're never going to get better. And we tell the kids all the time, if you're not getting better, you're actually getting worse, because other people are working to get better all the time.
And that's just a skill for life,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
I mean,
you have to be able to take criticism to survive in this world anymore.
Because I'll tell you this, I think there was probably 10 or 12 kids that were in the presentations that we did. I'll tell you this, there isn't one of them that I probably wouldn't hire, you know, for an entry level like teacher, because they were on point, they understood it, and again, the confidence was either there or you could see that it was coming. You know what I mean? Like it's, you can be like, I'm not quite sure about this, but by the time you get them talking and the nerves go away, they knew the stuff.
Right.
So that's it. Just even thinking about it now, I'm like, man, I wish I could have had that level of confidence and technical skill in high school.
Well, even looking back, like there's a lot of things in FFA that I wish I would have. I was kind of a FFA snob a little bit. I thought, other than showing animals and doing some livestock judging, I was too good to do some of the rest of it, or I honestly probably just wasn't super comfortable expanding my skills. And now looking back, that was a big mistake. And I really wish I would have got myself out of my comfort zone even more and tried some of those other things. And that's part of why now I tell the kids, just don't hesitate to try something even if you're not super comfortable with it, because honestly, you'll probably learn more through that, because you grow more when you're uncomfortable. And that's what I tell the kids all the time. Like, you're not always going to be super comfortable in my classroom, and it's because I'm trying to get you to grow and think above and beyond what you're comfortable with now. Obviously, I'm never going to put you in a dangerous situation or you know, get you to the point where you're just going to shut down, hopefully. But just trying to get you, to the next step.
Yeah, and to paraphrase a quote from Will Smith, one thing he says is like, your greatest success is on the other side of your greatest fear, right?
Exactly.
And so just getting kids the grit, determination to be like, you know what, I'm going through this, is a win in and of itself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Holy cow, that's a lot. So what do the kids, so fair starts in about 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks or so, yep.
What all will kids be taking up there that people can go see?
So we've kind of got a little bit of everything. So for Muscatine FFA specifically, we'll have a bunch of kids like Mallory, for example. They'll have their pig projects up there. We've got some kids with some sheep, some kids with some cattle. Got a couple kids that have some horses. I know like Avery Schroeder's got some broilers, which would be chickens that she'll have there. A few kids that will have some dogs around. So basically most of the livestock type projects. We do have a few kids who will take some non-livestock, or they call them static exhibit projects as well. But that's kind of, our FFA kids kind of focus more on the livestock stuff when it gets to fair time. We do have a lot of kids who are FFA members who also are involved in 4-H. And they will take some other projects, some static projects through the 4-H side of things as well.
Gotcha.
And I also happen to be a 4-H leader. So Sam Paul and I are kind of co-leaders for the Sweetland 4-H Club, which is one of the Muscatine groups here. So we'll also be busy helping some of our kids with that stuff as well. So there'll be, I mean, if you guys go to the fair, get a chance, walk through the 4-H building. It's not just 4-H projects in there. There's FFA kids that have some things in there, but as a whole, it's mostly 4-H projects. Or walk through the open class stuff and see what other people brought as well. But those kids will bring in, like, there's photography projects, there's woodworking, there's animal science. I mean, you name it, the kids probably have a project for it somewhere that's up there. So it just gives the kids a chance to show their skills, show what they've learned, show what they know, and get a chance to compete.
Well, and speaking of showing what they know, this was like the greatest surprise experience that I've had in probably the last couple of years. We had to go broadcast a football game up in Cedar Falls, and we were down a cameraman. So I reached out to Becky at the high school. I'm like, hey, do you think any of the Muskie Minute kids might want to go be an extra set of hands? She's like, I'll throw it out, we'll see. And a young man named Bob Carver.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah, okay, see, this is...
We know Bob very well through
everybody,
FFA.
Yeah, if you don't know Bob yet, you will.
You haven't met Bob yet, yeah.
Yeah, and he helped MC the race for the schools.
Yep.
He did Muskie Minutes, obviously the FFA side of stuff as well. The kid's a riot, extremely smart, extremely articulate.
Yes.
And so we were driving up to Cedar Falls, and we went out to 280 to head up. Mm-hmm. And there's like a little meat shop right there by the casino and stuff. And he's like, I forget what the name of it. He's like, we got to stop there and get some jerky. I'm like, yeah, I'm in, right? Like, you don't have to tell me twice.
Right.
So we pull in, and they know him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and he's like, you got anything? Like, and he's like, unbelievable. And I'm just sitting there going, dude, I am taking you with me everywhere I go. So the rest of the way up, he's telling me, like, I grill pretty well, but I'm sitting there going, oh, dude, like, I'm just like trying to keep my eye on the road while like listening to Bob teach me about steak, so I know what I'm like.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's all from
FFA.
All from FFA.
We would like to take credit for the fact that Bob is so, outgoing and so witty and things, but he was like that before we got him. But yeah. I think we helped probably kind of fine tune some of his skills and definitely like the meat knowledge and some of that. So Bob's been involved in a lot of things. He jumped in right away in 8th grade. We had him in the Ag Impact contest and a few other things there. And he even launched right in basically as an incoming freshman into meat judging, and that's really been one of the things he's been actually really good at. He's placed pretty highly at the state level multiple times, and he's gone on trips to nationals and out to Denver for that. And he was also this past year our extemporaneous speaker. Mm-hmm. So extemporaneous speaking is the kids basically have to solve or come up with a speech about a problem in agriculture, and they get up to 3 topics that they choose from out of a hat. And then they have to pick which one they want to write their speech on. They get a half hour to write a 4 to 6 minute speech, and then they give that speech right there in front of the judges. Yeah. And so Bob's done that. And obviously his ability to think on his feet really helps out in that case.
Well, and what was all I could think of, and I probably make more King of the Hill references per show than any other morning show host, but all I could think about was the very last episode of King of the Hill is Bobby becoming a meat judge because his dad's such a, a griller and everything. And, I could just see Bob, and like the connection that you can have over stuff like that is huge. Cause like people that grill and like there's like instant connections, and all I could see, like, I'm thinking, dude, this is like the real life Bobby Hill. And that's a compliment, right? Like, because Bobby kicked butt in that whole thing. He took state by himself basically. Yep. And if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's funny. But it just kind of, when you're watching it on TV, you're like, okay, is that a thing? You know what I mean?
No,
and then there's literally Napoleon... Bob sitting in the car with you going, it's
a thing.
It's a thing, and that's basically what I do. I judge meat, and I'm like, that's cool.
Or like even Napoleon Dynamite, you know, he's sitting there sipping the milk. This cow tastes like it's been in an onion patch, but that's a contest, milk quality.
Yeah.
So it's funny just some of the connections and things, and even like with the meat stuff, like kids go, okay, well I'm not really a big meat eater. I don't want to hurt animals, whatever. Well, a lot of people around eat meat. Okay, what about food science? What if you want to be a chef? What if you want to go into human nutrition? What if you know, okay, maybe you're really into sports. What if you want to take that and be a nutritionist? Or you want to work on, just being able to help people with weight or with workouts or whatever. You probably need to understand just how the human body works and what it feeds off of, and that includes nutrition too.
Yeah. So, holy cow, that was a lot. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, we didn't have any set topics when we started because we knew we were going to have plenty to talk
Oh
about.
yeah, for sure.
So just kind of a quick recap, you know, from I'm just going to call it the whole ag function that you guys have. You know, they're running 600 kids through it between middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are doing FFA, 4-H, like these extra projects. They do a tremendous job. Every year they're kind of not revamping, but like tweaking to what the kids need, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Yeah, it's all based on the kids. Like,
Yeah.
there'll be some years where, we have kids that will take meat judging, for example, that are super interested in meats, and maybe they want to make a run at it and try to get to nationals, or try to just be as successful as they can and go to as many contests as they can. We'll do that. Maybe one year we have kids that really want to do floral. We'll do that. Or like this year, we had a lot of turnover. A lot of our horse judging kids from the past have kind of graduated, so this year we had to start with an entirely new group. They probably weren't as maybe passionate about horses per se, but they were willing to take on the material and start to learn it, and now they said, oh, now we know what to do better for next year. Or they take what they learned from that and said, okay, I've tried horse judging, now I'm going to take what I learned from that and I'm going to spring into poultry judging. So there's just lots and lots of avenues for them to try things and to build and grow and learn, and we'll, for the most part, especially because there's enough of us, we'll do anything the kids want to try and try to help them be as successful as they possibly can.
Well, thank you guys for everything you do.
Absolutely.
And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out to class of 97, Sam Paul. It's so much fun to watch him, you know, thinking back, and like a bunch of us that went to school together that are now out at the high school.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I couldn't think of a better person than Sam to be out there. I'm sure
No,
that
absolutely.
you know,
Sam's
like,
a huge part of our program, and I think one of the reasons why the program works as good as it does is, you know, the teachers. I mean, we don't always see exactly eye to eye. We don't always get along exactly, but we can always put that stuff aside and say, what are we doing that's best for the kids and what's best for the program?
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things that really helps us all function and work really well together, is it's all what's best for the program. And so Dave and Sam and everybody is, you know, they're super key parts of this, and, you know, they play a huge role in kids' lives in the community for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's cool because every kid that is in high school ag of any sort, I'm like, oh yeah, Mr. Paul, how do you like him? And like, I've got like an instant connection with these kids because,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know, they all like him. It's a nice, positive thing to talk about, and it's one of those things that makes Muscatine. So,
Absolutely.
Keep up the great work.
Yeah.
And, you know, shoot us a note. I mean, obviously, so we'll be out at the fair, so I'm sure we'll see you.
I'm sure
quite
we'll
a
be
bit.
around, or we'll send
Yeah.
kids up your way for sure.
Yeah, well, we actually have a United Rentals UTV this year, so we're going to be able to be buzzing around and
Live
like,
at the barns.
yeah, oh yeah, we're going to be everywhere. We got the GPS. We GPSed all the buildings, so for the map for people to use.
Nice.
And so we'll be able to just like, I don't
Be
think
there.
we'll be able to do like traffic renderings of like how busy paths are yet, but we'll try.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
For sure.
And Muscatine, we will see you tonight at 5 for Muskie softball. Until then, have a great Wednesday.